so before I get the European bumper cover painted, I want to make sure that everything fits together and I'm not wasting $1,000 getting the paint job done and then find out that the bumper or the bracket does not fit. So in order to do the test fitment, I need to obviously take off the old bumper and try the new one. And so I'll walk you through the overall process for taking the bumper off. So one of the first things you want to do, you want to pop out the tail lights. And so what I'm going to start doing is just put some painting tape around the edges. It's going to help avoiding any potential scratches to the old bumper. And then once I do that, you need to take off this cover here, and there's like a plastic cover underneath. You take that off, and that's going to expose I think a 10 millimeter bolt, and then you unscrew that, and that basically is going to allow the tail light to be pulled out. Now there's even though you may, after unscrewing that bolt, you may still feel some resistance. You just have to play with the tail light to pop it out, and make sure you do that without scratching the paint. So once you get the tail lights out, I'm going to start by removing this wing here. So there are some bolts here that I need to take off, and once that's done, I'm going to get the car on a lift, remove the V-liners on the back side of the rear wheel well, and then that's going to expose some screws. Take that off. There's a bunch of screws in the bottom. I need to take those off as well. This guy needs to come off. I think there are 4 or 5 bolts that are holding this. 6 actually. There are 6 bolts that are holding this. So this diffuser needs to come off. Just the rear part of that diffuser. And then that's pretty much it. And then once I do that, there may be some heat shielding I need to remove. I'll try to install this European rear bumper reinforcement bar, and then fit the new bumper over. We just took one side out. It's really hard to try to pry the tail light out without really scratching or marring the tail light of the body. What ended up working for us was these real little suction guys. So I got one side in, and you probably want to start applying pressure here, because there's what's really holding the tail light is kind of a pin that goes in the back. Yeah.
Probably shot right here.
Yeah. That plastic part is what's really holding it. So you want to apply pressure there and then pull it out. Earlier I mentioned you need to take the wheel liners off. Not quite true. You definitely need to remove these bolts. There's 1 and 2. But as you can see, these wheel liners are bolted on the back side, so there's no way you can take them off without removing the bumper. The only, I would say, caveat here is that there are 3 bolts that go here on this bracket that hold the bumper in place from the bottom side. So you want to remove them. And then as you can see, there's 1 here and 1 here. And then other than that, it's pretty easy to take it off. Obviously you need a good friend like I have here to help you with the bumper, but otherwise it should be a pretty straightforward process. Oh, and then with the cables, there are 2 cables you need to disconnect. On that side is much easier. On this side, it comes with a bracket. The bracket is mounted on this hole. It's much easier to remove the bracket first. It gives you, and then bring the whole wiring harness out. And once it's out, you can just remove this mounting point from the bracket, and the bracket stays with the bumper. Reinforcement bar is kind of lined up, and as you can see, the bracket, this one came off of probably just a Boxster or a regular Cayman S, and this one is a GT4. As you can see, there's a different bracket, and this bracket is where the diffuser gets bolted onto. So what I'm gonna do is remove the heat shield, and I think the heat shield is also different design. As you can see, this is more extended. This one is a different design. So I'm just gonna grab the heat shield and the bracket from the GT4 and install it on this reinforcement bar, and then from there we'll do a test fitment. The reinforcement bar fits in just fine. We're gonna start trying the fitment with the bumper. One thing to note, so on the Euro Spec ones, this is the tow hook location, whereas in the American Spec one, it's in the center, which goes behind the license plate. So that's really the reason why I had to change the reinforcement bar, is just to make sure that the tow hook functionality kind of carries over to the European Spec. This reinforcement bar is actually from a 981, so the previous generation, but as you can see, everything fits just perfectly. So with that, let's go ahead and try the new bumper and see if it fits. All right, guys, as you can see, everything fits perfectly. I looked at the bracket on the bottom. It's perfectly lines up, so the bumper is good. The brackets, everything kind of line up just fine. And as you can see, I just looked at this tow hook location, and it also fits perfectly. So this is a really happy moment for me. I've been working on this stupid project for a long time, 3 months in making, and now I can see everything coming together. So the next step is to take it off. I'm not going to put the old bumper back on just yet. I will leave it off. I'll take this to the body shop. They're going to paint it, match it to the car color, and then I need to take a whole bunch of stuff, camera, sensors from the old bumper, the wiring harness, put it on this one. There's a bracket that goes in here. I need to get that on, and then after I do all of that, rebuild the bumper, I'll come back and reinstall. Basically follow the exact same steps we just followed, just in reverse order, and that should be it. With the bumper removed, it's a good time to start looking around and kind of taking note of how the wires are connected. The wiring harness is clipped onto the bumper, and I basically need to disassemble this extra pieces and put it back on the new bumper. So this is the bracket that holds the lights and the camera, so this needs to come up, obviously. These are the sensors, the parking sensors that need to come off, and then there's a plastic bracket here that's secured by a whole bunch of screws in the bottom, and then these are the reflectors that need to come off as well. One interesting fact, I don't know why this is the case, but they're only connected on one side. There's no, like this cable actually goes to toward the chassis, so this is not what gets plugged in here, but this plug actually, it's blank if you look inside. So I don't know why one is connected and one is not connected. And having access to the back of the bumper, it gives you a lot of freedom. There's just a screw you need to remove and then push these brackets out, and that's it. Just gotta take note of how everything is positioned, so when it comes to moving these parts over to the new bumper, I kind of follow the same pattern. All right, guys, so I'm in the process of removing this Porsche logo from the back, and so it's a bit of an involved process, and I want to walk you through the steps first. So there are two set of tabs that keep this Porsche logo in place. One set gets hooked on the bumper itself, and the second set, let me grab the flashlight. The second set actually gets hooked onto this plastic trim piece. And so you want to start working your way through. So there's going to be one there, one there, one there, and then inside there's going to be one there, and then just kind of bumper is now completed. I had to move over all the wiring harness. Everything is now done. This trim is a bit of a pain in the butt to get replaced. There's, I think, 8 screws that run on the bottom. You need to take them off first and then put them on last. And then there are obviously 2 screws that go on each side. So yeah, that's about it. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna get the bumper on the car, fingers crossed. I'm not gonna scratch anything up. There's some, even though I just got this bumper painted, there are some really small, fine scratches or hairline or spider web, whatever you guys call it. I need to buff that out, and it's very hard to buff it out in the current state when it's not attached to the car. So I'm going to put it on the car. I'm not going to put the diffuser just yet. It's going to give me a better access to the underside of the bumper, and then I'm going to do, take a shot at buffing it out, and then put on ceramic coating, and then I'm going to put on some PPF that I've purchased just for the side wheel well and the rear part of the bumper. I'm gonna put that on, and then that's it. We're gonna call it a day. All right, so as you can see, I've gone ahead and installed the rear bumper. It took me a while to get all the trim pieces and the wiring harness, the camera, the light, everything back on the bumper. And once I got it back on the car, I had to spend some time to buff out all the swirl marks and imperfections that were on the rear bumper, even after having it freshly painted. Now that that's all done, actually I've gone ahead and polished the whole car. I'm looking to put in a brand new layer of ceramic coat. So the whole car is now paint corrected. And now before I start putting in the ceramic coat, there are a couple of things I want to knock out. One is I want to add PPF to this wheel arch. So that's going to cover just the wheel arch and then a bit of the underbody on the rear bumper. That area gets a lot of abuse just from the road dirt and stones that get propelled into that area. Now, as you may have already seen, I installed the GT4 RS side diffusers on the rear diffuser. So that's going to eliminate or reduce the number of stones that get propelled to the bottom side. But before I put that trim back on, I want to make sure I get the PPF and do the ceramic coating, and then I'll get that diffuser installed. So one of my pet peeves with the old bumper was the fact that the license plate was screwed right into the bumper directly. Aside from the fact that that caused 4 holes on the bumper, every time I wanted to put a tow hook in, I had to take the license plate on and off, and then that would over time loosen those holes because there were self-screwing screws that were making these holes, and so it was a big mess. I didn't really like it. So with this car, I went ahead and bought this license plate holder. So as you can see, they're screwed in on 2 sides. So the idea is you don't need to take these 2 screws off very often. And then you can see those yellow slots. There are 4 of them, and that's what you use to install a license plate over this. So that's going to make the job of removing and putting back on the license plate a lot easier. But not that I need it, because now I can access my tow hook on the side using the Euro bumper. So in terms of placement of the GT4 emblem in the rear, so this is the old bumper. I have the advantage of having access to an old bumper. So what I've done, I've created a mask around it. I've marked the center. This center needs to line up with the center of S on the Porsche logo on the bar here. And so what I've done, I've lined everything up, mark the center. So I'm going to lift off this pattern, include in a new sticker, and then put it on a new bumper. And then I'm going to peel back, and this one flaps. So I'm going to peel back the underlying and then just apply to the open space on the bumper.